So remakes are pretty big right now. We're getting The Last of Us remade, which really doesn't need a remake, I don't think. There's the rumors of the Horizon Zero Dawn remake, which is like, why would you remake that? That game's 5 years old. It's on PS4. It's readily playable. Silent Hill 2 remake just got shown. I think it looks great, even though I'm kind of scared of Bloober Team. That's the scariest thing about that game. Resident Evil 4 remake looks great. So remakes are big. Dead Space remake looks really good. Just played the original one recently, so that's going to be a cool one. But decided I'd kind of put together a list of games, a little selection of games that I would like to see remade in some way. And I'm trying to make it kind of, there's different ways that we can kind of look at it, different kind of reasons I would want to see them remade, and just kind of talk about it. I'd love to hear what you guys would like to be seeing in the future get remade, and how you'd like to see it get remade. So leave those down in the comments below. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed as well, and let me know what you think of my picks here, and leave a like if you enjoyed it. It really helps out. So, first game I'd kind of like to talk about here that I'd like to see get remade, and this might be a little contentious because I would say really none of these games truly need remade, but I just have like kind of interesting things in mind with them. And that first one is Paper Mario, the original for the N64. This is one of my favorite games ever. I think this game is great. But I look at something like the newest Paper Mario, the Origami King, and that game looks really nice. Like, that game has a great art style. I love the kind of photoreal elements added in with the Paper Mario and everything. And I think this game still holds up visually very well. There's not too much to it, so, I mean, that should be expected. But I just would love to see this game and maybe the sequel. Although I like this game more than Thousand Year Door. I just like to see these games remade, kind of revisioned with those really nice graphic art style, and just kind of see what that looks like. I mean, we're at a point right now with the Paper Mario games where no one seems to be happy with what they are. They just want the old formula back, myself included. I don't know why I would play an RPG where you can't really level up. I don't know why I want to play, Paper Mario with this weird sphere thing on the field. I don't want that. I just want the classic Paper Mario. If we're not going to get it, Nintendo loves remaking things. They're trying to remake the Kirby, the Return to Dreamland, and sell it for $60. It doesn't look any different. If you're going to remake something, just give us, what we want and remake a classic at the same time. So that's my first one there. I think that would be really cool. I just do. I think we could make that look kind of interesting. Next up, you hear this one a lot. But this is kind of an important game in its series lore, and it doesn't really have a new version of it. So, like, the last time this game was released, Resident Evil Code Veronica was the Code Veronica X on the Xbox, GameCube, PS2. But it was Dreamcast exclusive at first. It's kind of important to Resident Evil lore. Like, it's not insignificant at the very least. And we're getting these Resident Evil remakes. Some may say that it's a little too early for Resident Evil 4 remake. I think that game still holds up great. I think that game still plays like it's brand new, even if it is, 17 years old, almost 18 years old now, because it came out in January of 2005. I think that game still holds up really well. But it would be nice to see something like this. That game is a little bit more accessible than classic Resident Evil, because this is still very much the fixed camera angles, pre-rendered backgrounds, that kind of thing. And that's not always, easy to go back to for people. And I think it would be cool to be able to see this game kind of fully reimagined. This game has some annoying parts to it that could be fixed or re-envisioned. And I don't know, these Resident Evil remakes, 2 remake, even 3 remake, which I know people didn't like quite as much. I think it was still pretty good. They're so good. They're so good that I just want more of them. I don't want them to run out. I don't want them to remake 5 very much, run out right now at least. If they were to remake that 5, I would want it to look pretty much completely different than what it is. And I like 5. It's a great co-op game, but it is not a great Resident Evil game. So yeah, I think like this would be a logical place to take it. And then, maybe after Resident Evil 4 remake, even though this came out before Resident Evil 4, and then maybe by 2028, say, then it's probably about time for Resident Evil 5 to be remade, and then we can go from there. But yeah, I think this would be cool, and they just announced recently they have no plans to do it, so moot point anyway, right? Um, so this is a game I've never actually really dug into very much. I got a cartridge of it last year at a garage sale, surprisingly. I've told this story because it's a great story. But Earthbound. So I think Earthbound, as it is really good. Um, it looks really good. I don't know if you would want to change it, but I just kind of wanted to bring this one up real quick because I always imagined seeing maybe the first game because I played more of Mother One than I have of Earthbound, and Mother One because I played the Earthbound Beginnings. That game is just not very enjoyable to play. So maybe I don't have a physical representation of Mother One, Earthbound Beginnings, but maybe that would be the better route to go and remake that game first and then see how it goes. But the way I have it kind of in my head is looking a little bit like Link's Awakening. The Link's Awakening remake with that really cool toy art style is so good. That game looks so good. It is so good. And I don't know, I think like the charm of the Mother series I think could look really, really nice in that kind of art style. And I think it would be really cool fix some of the kind of grindiness and annoyingness of Mother 1 and then maybe go from there, see how people like it, do Earthbound, and then maybe Mother 3, and we get it for the first time finally. I don't know, though, because I think the sprite work on Earthbound and Mother 3, from what I've seen, is fantastic. I don't think you really need to change it too much, as it might just be good to, you know, give it a different interpretation, I guess. I mean, this is a series that isn't going to come back. They're not going to make a Mother 4 or anything like that. So, you might as well revive interest in it in some way and maybe try out something like that. Just a new art style update that doesn't, phase out the original game completely, but maybe just gives a new interpretation. Next is actually kind of two games, but you'll get what I'm saying. It would actually kind of be like three games, but I'll just kind of start with Yakuza 3 and kind of just go with that. I do also have Yakuza 4 and 5 on PS3 as well. But yeah, these are PS3 games. We're in a weird place with Yakuza. I think Sega is awesome for making the whole Yakuza series, pretty much except for Dead Souls, completely, compatible with Xbox One, with PlayStation, they're on PC, and that's great. But when you start from the beginning, you got like the kind of older engine, but still pretty playable PS3, PS4, Yakuza 0. Then you have the same engine, Kiwami, and then you have the awesome Dragon engine, Kiwami 2, which is a great game. That is an awesome game. And the Dragon engine is just a really awesome, really good feeling engine. There's less loads. You can kind of walk in and out of places. There's no load, less loads between battles and stuff like that. And then you go from that to the 2008 or 9 Yakuza 3, which is good game. This was my first Yakuza game. But if you look at it and if you go try to play it, I think it's a really good game. I really like the setting and the location that they never really went back to. The kind of island setting, island location. And it would be really cool just to see this game remade like Kiwami. I want to see Kiwami 3 and maybe Kiwami 4 and Kiwami 5 someday. Those are, would be great. But yeah, I think the big thing is that when you're playing through it, you have the Yakuza Remastered Collection, which has them on PS4, on Xbox, etc. And it would just be nice, though, to have maybe a revamped version of the game that's playable in a, I guess, more accessible format, a less dated feeling format, especially when you're going to Kiwami 2 to a regular Yakuza 3. A little rough, but because then you have to wait till Kiwami, or not Kiwami, but just Yakuza 6 regular to get back to Dragon Engine and get back to kind of how they play. It would just be nice to have it more in line with how they play right now. So, yeah, I think that would be a good pick. Sticking with this is another game, I guess, that doesn't need remade as much as I'd just like to see it ported. And you would probably just need to remake it based on the nature of the game. But Icarus Uprising is my favorite 3DS game. I think this game is great. It's so entertaining. It is so fun. I know a lot of people couldn't click with it because of the weird controls. So you use the touch screen as kind of a camera, and then you have these flight sections and you have these on-foot sections. The on-foot sections almost play like a third-person shooter. The flight sections play more like Star Fox. I really like the controls, even if they made my hands numb. But, now we have the Switch. Now we have systems that we can, have a second stick on that we can use. And we could have gyro in motion that we could use without having to switch the whole screen around necessarily. And I think it would just be nice to be able to have something like this is an already pretty nice looking game for a 3DS game. So to just have this game, I feel like there's so much potential with this series. Um, and I just can't believe that it's been 10 years since we saw anything after they brought the series back. Then they just sat on it for another 10 years. But yeah, I think it would be fun. I think it would be enjoyable. I think, and any opportunity to bring this game to more people would be cool. And, even if it's just ported and kind of reworked, I think it'd be nice. But, very cool. The last one I would really like to talk about is, if you know me, probably a pretty obvious one. And this has been rumored. This has been rumored for like, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And I have some theories to whether or not they're going to do it. And I think they are. Persona 3. So Persona 3, I think, once again, doesn't necessarily need a remake. But I just don't think it's in the best shape it can be. So they're porting Persona 3 Portable to the modern consoles, which is cool. There's a way to play it now. But that game, doesn't have an overworld map you can travel around. You have to use it like, it almost plays, I don't like to call it a visual novel because it's clearly not, but it has like that static and images instead of, actual characters on screen. It's not the best way to play it, but it has the female protagonist route that I know a lot of people are fans of. And I've never played that route, so I'm looking forward to playing that route on the new version of it when it comes out in January. The FES version, on the other hand, has, the extra content. It has a extra story chapter called The Answer. It has, the full graphics and everything capability of, the PS2 at the very least. So it has everything it kind of needs there, but it doesn't have controllable party members like the portable version does. So what we have is right now a problem between, what's the best way to play this game? Is it FES or is it portable? And I think either one is a suitable answer, but they both have their downsides. So I just propose we get a remake of this game. It has been rumored for a while, and I think it's happening. So Atlas is a weird company. They like to get bang for their buck out of projects they make. So in 2018, in December, we got the Persona 3 Dancing Moonlight. I couldn't remember which one it was, but the Persona 3 Dancing game. We got that. And we have all new models for these characters that are kind of more in line with the Persona 5 engine in style. We have all new environments of the most common, environments from that game. And we have, HD versions of these characters for the first time in like a 3D way. That's not counting the fighting games and everything. But that's interesting to me. Like when they brought these characters back, they brought this game back that didn't necessarily need to be brought back. And we haven't heard anything from it. So where this gets more interesting, I think, in my opinion, I'm just put on your tinfoil hats here, is that Persona 5 Dancing Starlight, they had some new areas, like you had the characters' rooms and stuff in the game, and new areas that they created just for that game. Those new areas showed up in Persona 5 Royal for the first time. So there was some characters you never saw their room until certain events in Persona 5 Royal, not in the original Persona 5. So I don't think Atlas would go to the trouble of making these new character models that look really nice and making these new environments for games that were, I mean, to be honest, the dancing games were a little half-baked, the newer ones. I think that they made those things for a remake of some sort, and then they decided to kind of put it into that project, get some funding, get some money out of that, and keep working on a remake. That is my theory. I don't know if it's real or not, but that's a convincing theory. This has been rumored for a while, and I think that's the most convincing evidence in my mind, at the very least. But yeah, I'd love to see a remake of this game. I'd love to see a pretty comprehensive version of all this game. There's some mechanic things that aren't great. I don't like the randomized dungeons. Each floor is randomized. It's never the same thing. It's a little bit of a slog to get through the dungeon. I would love to see more, even if it's like Persona 5's Mementos. I don't know, just something more interesting out of the dungeons, out of the different areas of the dungeons. I prefer it to be like the Persona 5 dungeon palaces, but they might not want to do that. But I could see it being like each, section. They usually cut you off for like a certain time. So each section of the dungeon is, because it's a big like skyscraper essentially. It's a huge tower, the dungeon. I could see each I think they cut you off after like 10 floors or something. I forget it. I played Persona 3 2014. So I could see those being like that top 10, and that's a unique kind of theme, unique kind of dungeon, and then you go to the next one. So I don't know if that makes sense. That seemed like rambling. But this game I would really like to see a remake for. Maybe they then go and remake Persona 4. I think that game's in pretty good shape with Golden, but Persona 5 looks so good, and it's so much more detailed than 3 and 4 that I would love to see those worlds and those environments and those characters like in that setting. So could be interesting. Just my theory there and what I'd like to see. Atlas will probably make some kind of Persona 3 kart racer that the tires are somehow squares or something, so you can't actually race, knowing Atlas. So, you know, it is what it is, but good, would be a great game. And, you know, I'd just like to say, before I go on to the last one, like I said earlier, if you enjoyed this video, make sure to leave a like. Subscribe if you're not already subscribed. Let me know what you think of my picks here and what kind of games you'd like to see get remastered in the future. What do you think of games like Horizon Zero Dawn getting remade, and games like The Last of Us getting remade? Games that feel more recent, that don't really feel like they need a remake, in my opinion at least. And follow me on Twitter at ObjoGaming. And now I'll get to a game that needs no explanation why it needs a remake. A game we all want to be remade. Worth the chicken.